Rather than applying an effect to my entire object, as I've done here, I want to apply the effect only to my stroke. So I'm going to target my stroke in the Appearance palette, and then I'll go up to my Effect menu, and down to Path, and then Offset Path. I'll turn on my preview once again, and you can see now I'm getting this type of an effect. So what's happening is the path is getting pushed off of, or offset off of the edge of the object where it normally sits. Again, using my offset setting, which you've seen earlier in other lessons. Maybe I'll switch this to 5 and then Tab. There it is, looking good. And once again, just to show you, I'll go into my outline mode. Control Y, Command Y. This is what Illustrator sees. Isn't that crazy? I'll go back into my preview. That's what I see. Yet again, I can highlight my object here, go back into my Appearance palette, look for my offset path, double click on it, make some kind of a change here. Maybe I'll increase this to 10. Click on OK. That's what they mean by live effects. You want to go even further with this? How about 2 strokes with 2 offset paths? Is it possible? Well, I'll go back to my path at the top of the Appearance palette and then head over to my Appearance palette menu, and I'm going to choose Add New Stroke. Remember, we did this in the last lesson. That gives me a second stroke. Do you see it in there? Actually, that looks pretty good with the green and the black and then the white and then the black again. However, I'm going to take this stroke here and I'm going to go back up to Effect, and just like my drop shadow, I'm going to choose Apply Offset Path, and now I get that duplication happening there. So this path here, this stroke here I should say, is my fella right here. The outside guy is this guy right here. All right, so we've had some fun here. We've been goofing around a little bit with some of the different effects and so on. What if I want to take my object all the way back to where I started, all the way back to the beginning? I don't want my St. Patty's Day clover anymore. I don't want my strokes happening here. I want to take it all the way back to where I started. Well, you have a couple of different options. I'll make sure that my path is highlighted at the top of my Appearance palette here. And then from my Appearance palette menu, I'm going to choose Clear Appearance. And what Clear Appearance does, have a look at the bottom of your toolbox, is it completely wipes out the fill and the stroke, but obviously it also wipes out all of my live effects. Take a look at your Appearance palette, it tells you all. There's no stroke, no fill, no effects, no nothing. So that's what clearing the appearance does. I'm going to undo that, go back to where I was, and rather than completely clearing the appearance, which was my first option here, I'm going to choose Reduce to Basic Appearance. What's the difference? Well, choose it and we'll find out. Reduce to Basic Appearance takes me back to a 1-point black stroke and my original green fill. So it depends on what you want to do. Do you want to wipe everything clean, or do you want to go back to where you had started with your basic appearance? Okay, so there's sort of a basic idea of working with your appearance and some of your different effects. Now let's go on a bit of an exploration tour here. I have my object here. I think I'll make them just a little bit smaller here. And what other neat and amazing things can I do to my objects in Illustrator? Well, let's go exploring. I'm going to go to my Effect menu here, and I'm going to go down to Distort and Transform. You saw Pucker and Bloat. Another one of my favorites is Roughen. So I'm going to choose Roughen and then turn on my preview, and I get this sort of an effect here. In fact, this is one that we'll use a little bit later on. I can set up how rough I want my effect to be, and I can also adjust the amount of detail that I want inside the effect, as well as whether I want smooth curves or corner points. So that's a neat one that you can play around with. I'll just cancel that one out. Here's a few others. I'll go back to Effect, back down to Distort and Transform. Here's one of my favorites. I use Transform quite a bit in the traditional sense. In other words, going from the Object menu and then choosing my Transform command. But I can come in here and apply Transform as a live effect. This is pretty cool stuff. So for example, I could come in here, I could scale my object if I wanted to. Make sure your preview is turned on down at the bottom there. I could scale it horizontally and vertically if I want, and this is all live. This is not permanent. I'm just goofing around here. My original object is still there. I can move it around on my screen if I want, horizontally and vertically. I can even rotate my object if I want. I could type in a value, or I could just use my little dial here if I want. And I can even adjust the number of copies that I want. Now I get something like this happening. Isn't that wild? I can do something like that, or something like this. This is what I mean by effects being like a bottomless pit. You can just keep playing and playing and playing. Maybe I want a stack of playing cards or whatever it is. Anyway, I'll cancel out of that. You can keep fiddling to your heart's content there.